By the end of this video, I'm hoping that you'll be able to see a consecutive set of numbers, maybe 3 or 4 numbers in a row, and you'll be able to read it almost like it is a sentence that is written out for you. I don't think that it is as hard as you might think that it is. Hey y'all, and welcome to my YouTube channel that I don't have an intro for. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about angel numbers and why you absolutely should not be Googling these things, because it's pretty easy to understand. So first, let me talk a little bit about what angel numbers are, just to kind of make sure that we're all on the same speed here. So one lens that you can use to view the world through is this idea that there's no such thing as a coincidence. You guys have seen that video, right? If not, I'm gonna put it in right here because it's just too great not to.
There is no such thing as a coincidence. The fact that you're watching this video means you are energetically aligned with me and this message. Your thoughts create your reality. But you already knew that, yet you still live a life that you dread.
Excuse me.
That is because when you visualize your dream life, you unconsciously believe that it is unrealistic.
So I love this guy because he's funny and he's spiritual, and you know that that's like my whole vibe. And even though I can laugh at him, I actually completely agree with him. I also don't really believe in coincidence, like as it relates to these random things that happen to me throughout my day that seem super aligned with like whatever I'm thinking or whatever I'm doing. Even more so, it's kind of like this idea of like, if somebody shows up in your life, that's not a coincidence, right? Or like if you open your DoorDash app and there's a coupon for $3 off of $12 or more at Chipotle, that is somehow a sign. You're getting Chipotle today. We're freaking getting Chipotle today. Chipotle? More like namaste. The divine in me recognizes the divine in that burrito, baby. Get that guac. Get that queso. It's $3 off. You've earned this. This is what was intended from above. Stupid. That is like, I don't even know if I'm gonna keep that in. Anyway, getting back to the point. Some people notice that they will be going through life and they see numbers, specifically repeating numbers or some sort of number that has some meaning to them. But it doesn't have to be. It could be just like you see 428 and you see that everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. And that drives a lot of people to wonder, what is this? What's going on? A lot of people also look at the clock like at the same time every day. They'll always see 3:33, or they'll always look at the clock at 11:11. And these things like really do happen to everybody, like across the board, regardless of your religion or regardless of your gender or your race or anything like that. It seems like we all have this same connection of seeing these kind of like random things that start to not seem so random. So what do? We go on Google, baby. So you might get on Google and you might look up something like 1111 meaning. And right away you will find out that you are not alone. Also, it says like, what does 1111 mean? And then what does 1111 mean in love? Which like, God, people who are seeking spiritual advice are like so preoccupied with love. It's like, gee, like maybe don't rush to a conclusion that 1111 is like some sort of sign that like you should let your abusive ex back in for the 80th time. Like that's what that is. Just so you know, that's absolutely what that is. Okay, anyway. So you can see that there's like a lot of stuff that comes up. There's a lot of different things that are going on here, and it can get overwhelming. Like when you go into one thing and it tells you that it's about we are all one, all interconnected. And then the next thing goes, it shows an important connection to your guardian angel or your spiritual guide. Like this is the kind of shit that makes people more skeptical of spirituality than I think that they need to be. Because if you look up something like this and it says so many different things and all of those things are like so vague, then the person just ends up like setting their phone back down and being like, oh, this must be random. Or at the very least, they're like disillusioned by the idea that this might mean something, you know? If it doesn't make any sense, then it's like, well, maybe it is just a coincidence. Although me and my friend absolutely disagree with that.
There is no such thing as a coincidence.
So what are you supposed to do then when like you don't know if you should like look something up or like what it means? That is where hopefully I come in today. So this is going to be a pretty long video. I'm going to go through what each of the numbers kind of means. And then I'm going to go through how to put those together in strings so that way you can literally understand this language. So if you go back to the idea that things aren't coincidental and that things have meaning, then maybe when we see messages like numbers, they're being communicated to us by a different realm. Maybe. Just hang in there with me. You can subscribe to this or not. I'm just explaining like where the idea of angel numbers came from, and that does include an element of an outside force giving us messages in a way that we would notice and then hopefully understand. So what people started noticing who were tuning into these kinds of experiences is that a lot of them mirrored the energy of what people interpret angelic energy to be. Now, why would they use numbers, you might ask? Well, spirit uses all sorts of different kinds of signs. Some people will see animals or colors or even have different like smells attached to things. But numbers are really specific and unique to use as a communication tool because math is like literally the language of the universe. If you want to look more into that, that's absolutely an ancient secret of the flower of life kind of topic. Sacred geometry, those sort of things shows us that the world and the reality that we live in is managed by math and is managed by numbers. Like, for example, a certain amount of protons and neutrons and electrons make up the difference between like what my phone screen is made of and like what my plastic cup is made out of. I don't really know what they're made out of, but I do know like some very basic chemistry from when I took AP chemistry for literally like 2 weeks. And then the substitute teacher that was like a long-term substitute teacher, he like made me really mad. And I don't really remember why. This is like Aries moon shit, but like he made me so mad that I changed from AP chemistry to physics, and I fucking hated physics. Like, hated physics. But I like the whole rest of the year I was like, yeah, but at least I'm not with that shitty substitute teacher. Like I was like,
oh hell yeah, brother,
I was on it. That's a Scorpio Mars shit. You know what I'm saying? You might. So anyway, I know a little bit about stuff, and I know that like numbers like matter.
And I know like numbers like matter.
So anyway, so numbers are in everything, right? And because of that, each number holds independent qualities from the next. The important thing here is that each system can be slightly different from person to person. And let me explain what I mean by that. So a 2 to somebody who has had a good experience with partnerships and dependence is going to mean something different than somebody who struggles with that and had issues with trust. So because of that, it's really not that great for people to be saying like, this is the numeric system, this is what 1 means, this is what 2 means, this is what 3 means, because ultimately these things are coming in as signs to the specific person, and that specific person's experience is going to inform what those messages mean. So that being said, if you're going to get good at reading the language of numbers, you're going to have to do some internal work for some significant amount of time. You're going to have to journal or at least really heavily pay attention to what kinds of days that you're having and what kind of moments that you're having when you are receiving the number information that you are seeing. And then you're going to see and chart kind of what those patterns look like. That being said, I think I have a pretty good handle on that kind of language that I think I can offer some beginning places for anybody who is trying to understand this language. And again, I want to be very clear that this is my own experience and it may differ, and it probably does does differ from other people's, but I think that my approach is different because I'm going to kind of coach you through and guide you through the why behind the reasoning, so that way you can see something and you can actually start to internalize it and synthesize it and read it. By the end of this video, I'm hoping that you'll be able to see a consecutive set of numbers, maybe 3 or 4 numbers in a row, and you'll be able to read it almost like it is a sentence that is written out for you, or a couple of sentences strung together in a paragraph. I don't think that it is as hard as you might think that it is. So where I get my understanding of numbers comes from studying sacred geometry, studying astrology and tarot, like to an extent. I definitely use the numerical system when understanding that. But mostly it is through my girl Doreen Virtue.
My mother had always told my brother and I that we were Christians because of Christian Science. And I went right into the New Age, basically was teaching Christian Science in the New Age, and became the top-selling New Age author at the top-selling New Age publishing house. And I don't say that to brag, I say that to give glory to God, because to be saved out of that deception is miraculous.
Now listen, I know we have all sorts of thoughts on Doreen Virtue, but this book like really changed things for me. When I started noticing my angel numbers and when I started like seeing 222 all the time and like really noticing that something was going on, I got this book. And the reason that I freaking love this book so much is because it goes through the general meaning of numbers 0 through 999. Every single number is given like its own unique message. So I actually very quickly ended up with 2 copies of this because I wanted one to keep at home and I wanted one to keep in my dashboard. Is that what that thing is called? My glove compartment. There it is. So that way I could look up license plate numbers on the go, because that is a constant income of information. So through this book and through the process that I was talking about earlier about like connecting in with what each of these numbers mean over the course of the last decade or so, I've really kind of understood like the basis of where I think that she got all of these from. And I think that she could have done a better job at explaining like her system in order to try to communicate that. I think instead she positioned it as that she was the ultimate resource, so that way people bought her books, and you know what, it worked. So like, get that coin, Doreen. God knows you're getting that freaking Jesus coin now. Jesus. Wait, I didn't mean to say Jesus at the end, but like once I get the Lord in my mind, I just like can't get him out. I'm so freaking pious. So let's go through the numbers. Let's get to it. Okay, so I'm going to be going through the numbers 0 through 9 as individual digits. So let's start with 0. 0 is nothing, yet it is everything. Okay, I know that sounds kind of corny, but it is kind of true. The 0 is representative of nothing, and yet it's represented as a circle, which is everything, right? When we are drawing a circle around everything and we're containing everything, it is the world shape. It is the entirety, but it is also nothing. So for me, I interpret that as some sort of God force. Everything and nothing at the same time, both present and nowhere to be found at the same time. Seeing zeros indicates some sort of lack of independence and a surrender to the everything, the source, the universe, God, whatever that is to you. The 0 reminds us that we are never really alone, that a complete 0 doesn't even exist. So if we feel like we are alone, literally at least have ourselves. And if we don't have ourselves for whatever reason, we still have, insert your favorite name of God here. Now let's go into the 1. 1 is you, a human body. Kind of looks like a 1. It's a straight line, gets from point A to point B. This is direct energy that has to do with our one self. Ones have to do with how you are viewing your own reality and how you are involved with that. Have you guys heard too that Make-A-Wish at 11:11 thing. I was always told growing up that if you see 11:11 that you're supposed to make a wish. I always thought that was really fascinating when I started studying this, because it's like people know that there is some sort of significance to 11:11. So my understanding of the one energy is that what you can do in order to change your reality or to affect your reality is to change your thoughts, the action, the doing. And the one has like that quick energy to it because it's point A to point B, boom. This is the atom, right? Oh, I meant like the atom, like the Christian atom, but it's also like the singular atom. Love it. So say what you will about Doreen now, but I always loved the way that she said ones and the way that she said specifically 11:11, which is keep your thoughts positive because they are manifesting instantly. Ones remind us of our own responsibility over ourselves and remind us that there's power in that. Number twos. Now, if we imagine one, rather than being the straight line like I've been describing before, and we shrink that down to 1 point now. So now rather than the actual numerical system, we're thinking about digits in a way that they are like points and they're all going to start to connect together. So when we have our 1 point here, and then there becomes a second, that is the 2 energy. This is the Eve energy. Now, rather than it just being about you and just being about yourself, there is another that is reflecting back to you what you are putting out. Twos reflect back to us. Twos remind us that we are interconnected. Twos remind us that we cannot do everything alone and that we are not built to get through everything alone. And because of that, twos communicate trust. We need to trust in the process. We need to trust in the universe. We need to trust in other people. Two reminds us that we are not an island. And it reminds us that as much as we would like to be, we are not in complete control of our own lives, like the one energy teaches us. Remember, these things can contradict each other to a certain extent, and that's the beauty of understanding what each of these numbers mean, because they are separate entities. So a 1 can teach us one thing, and a 2 can teach us the completely opposite. That's what makes this system so exciting, is because there's really like 10 characters, and once you learn those 10 letters, you can read pretty much anything. But I digress. Now let's get to number 3. So now we have our straight line from our 2, and we have a third point added to it, forming a little triangle between our points. You can already see how this energy is going to be a lot more complex than say our 1 or our 0. Between 3 different points, we have all of this energy moving, energy contained within it, energy on the outside of it. Now there is a shape, right? We have gone from an idea, a point, and then a line, but now we have a 3-dimensional shape. I mean 2-dimensional shape. Now we have a 2-dimensional shape. I wasn't an art major, okay? I'm sorry. Shit. So our triangle, what does it mean? Okay, so clearly right off the bat, 3s represent the Illuminati. There is no such thing as a coincidence. The fact that you are watching this video right now means that you are aligned with me
and this message.
And with the Illuminati.
Totally a joke. I'm a joker. I'm a comedian. You don't bottle me. Okay, the three is about ascending. Yay! We love ascending here on KC Flowers. Ascending is like the goal. So 3s are a pretty good sign. 3s have to do with building. 3s have to do with seeing things from a different perspective. Because think about it, when you add that 3rd point in at the top, suddenly it becomes aware of the other 2 spaces from a way that it wasn't aware of before. So 3s show us that we can see things from a different perspective. 3s show us that we as humans can ascend in some capacity. Here's where me and my girl Doreen don't agree. That's the only place ever that we've ever disagreed on. That's it. I love Doreen. Number 1 fangirl for Doreen. Well, we don't like disagree. I just think that her take is like not fully fleshed out. So Doreen thinks that 3s are about ascended masters. And so she'll say that like, if you see a 333, that means the ascended masters are with you now or something like that. But like when you're actually using this system, that is such a bullshit message to receive. Like, I'm sorry, but it is. It's like so vague. It's like any of the ascended masters, which, by the way, if you don't know what those are, that's like people who have lived on earth who are divine. So people like Jesus, Moses, Joseph Smith, L. Ron Hubbard, Oprah Winfrey, Jim Carrey, every contestant on Flavor of Love, Jenny Slaughton from 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, Flavor Flav himself, and Gila Klein of H3H3. You can actually find each of the people that I just mentioned in Doreen Virtue's now out of print deck, Ascended Masters. Like I mentioned, it is out of print now because our girl Doreen decided that Jesus was the only ascended master for her. So because this is out of print, I am currently actually selling this one for the low price of $2,000. Wait, no, not $2,000. $2,222.22. Just to push the spiritual crowd into thinking that it is a good deal. There's no such thing as a coincidence. So anyway, my girl Doreen thinks that threes are about ascended masters, whereas I think that it's more about reminding you that as a human, you exist on the same plane as those other ascended masters have been on as well. And it reminds us that we are also able to ascend, even if it's just for a short amount of time, to maybe see a situation from a different angle. Threes also can have to do with teamwork. The more the merrier. And with the three, we start to actually really see and feel the power of more people coming together and being able to accomplish something. Number four is pretty easy. What do 4 points make together? A box, right? Maybe a diamond if you're feeling fancy today, but it's basically a box, right? So what this reminds us is of stability, of a foundation. And because we're using the angel number system, we are going to interpret that our foundation is the angels. So 4s remind us that we are always divinely protected. We are always in our little angel house, surrounded on all sides by protection if that is something that we are open to receiving. I don't know why I got all cute there at the end. I just wanted you guys to like me. Anyway, so 4s are about angels, divinely protected. You got it. 5s. 5. So now is the point where we're going to shift from the idea of things being in points to more the ideas of the numbers themselves mean to us as humans. I hope you'll see where I'm going with this. So 5 would make a pentagram. That means something to some of us. Maybe that has a better house analogy than my last one, but we are going to forget about that for now. And we are instead going to think of the human hand. So what does the 5 mean? The 5 means we can reach out and grab something and take it. And then when we take it, we can do things with it and we can create something and put it back out into the world. 5 is about creation. 5 is about self-expression, and 5 is also about change. Now, Casey, how does that make sense? How does change relate to creativity, Casey? Well, let me tell you. Have you ever heard the phrase create change before? Are you an idiot? Be the change you want to see in the world. Create the change you want to see in the world. Have you never seen that? I'm just kidding. I don't you like me. But for real. So what 5s mean in Doreen Virtue language is positive change. And I think that that comes from the idea of creation. So we are able to look at our situation at any time and we are able to make those adjustments. We are able to see that something is askew and go over to it and fix it and positively impact our environment and our own experience. So 5 has to do with making sure that any changes that you're going through in your life are having some sort of positive outcome for yourself. It's reminding yourself that you have hands and you have a capable brain and you are able to, in moments of shifting and in moments of change and in moments of not really understanding, you are able to grab on And then to make sure that you are getting to a good place from that rather than just like falling to the wayside. Hold on for dear life and create something good out of it. That's 5. Number 6, people really notice 6s because of Christianity. People really notice 666 and people really fear that number. So what's going on here? 6 is devil energy for some reason. Why? 6 is where we start to think externally. This also makes sense because like I have 5 in my hand, right? And then now if I'm gonna add a 6, I need something else, okay? 6 is the something else. This has to do with material possessions. This has to do with money. This has to do with how you spend, how you think about your belongings. And back to my favorite girl, Doreen. She says that this is to focus on the spiritual instead of the material. Now, that is completely up to you. And this is one of the cases that I'm kind of talking about when I'm like, this comes down to your own personal experience. If you grew up like literally fearing sick, I just spit on my chin. The fear is like obvious, like it's coming out of me. So 6s are gonna be really different from person to person. For example, like if you grew up literally thinking that 666 was the devil's number, then the number 6 is going to mean something different to you than it does to somebody else who maybe had like a non-crazy upbringing. Something kind of additionally that I personally have taken from 6s is with that idea of focus on the spiritual, not on the physical. This idea that money isn't something to be super worried about. What I mean by that is like, don't be too overly anxious about what it is that's going on physically in your life. I know for me, a lot of the time that's money issues. So for me, 6s have kind of become a reminder not to worry too much about money because it will always be around and it's just about finding it. Obviously there are like problematic takes to that because like not everybody has access, you know, poverty exists, institutionalized racism and sexism exists, but I think you get what I mean. Okay, stick with me. We're almost done. So 7s. The universe loves 7s. 7 colors in a rainbow, 7 notes in a scale. Because of this, 7 is a very, very powerful whole energy vibration. Seeing 7s is honestly kind of like seeing 777 at a casino. You're kind of winning. 7s encourage us to look at the positives of what it is that we've been doing. They're kind of like a spiritual high five. Like you have the things in motion, you have these 7 parts going, and you are a beautiful freaking rainbow. 8s are the easiest to explain if we go back to thinking about it as the numeric digit. The 8 is the infinity sign. You can keep writing an 8 and 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 keep writing an 8. And you can never, ever, 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 ever stop if you don't want to. You know what? Live your own freaking damn life. If you want to freaking write 8s all day and not even multiple 8s, the same 8, don't let anybody tear you down, okay? I support you. Casey Flowers supports you. You draw that 8 and you remember that life is abundant. 8s have to do with abundance. 8s are about infinity. There is more than enough in this world for all of us. Again, society, problematic as fuck. It doesn't actually exist like this. This is just like in the upper echelon of spirituality and of spiritual concepts. 8 is the idea that there is plenty to go around and that there will always be whatever it is that you need in abundance. And our final number is 9s. The easiest way to explain 9s is that it is at the end of this numeric cycle. 9s have to do with completion. 9s have to do with you looking back on a time of your life and realizing what it is that you have taken from it and what you learned from it. My girl Doreen says 9s are about life purpose. And it took me a long time to understand how that connects with completion. But actually, it finally clicked in me this last breakup that I had because I was at the end of this cycle and I realized that I was given the opportunity to think, okay, but what is it that I really want to do? I'm at the the end of this cycle and I'm about to turn the page. So it's coming back to my life purpose. It's reflecting back on what it is that I want to put out and what I want to do. So that way the next phase can come from a spot of like understanding and learning from the time before, rather than just going into it as if it was completely unknown. So 9s are about completion and about life purpose, about what it is that you are here to do. So that's it. We did it. Those are all of the digits. And I'm telling you, this is like a language with 10 letters. You are able to then, with that information, you should be able to read a string of numbers with that kind of mentality. However, it does get a little bit more complicated when we start to add on numbers. And this will be the last thing that I'm talking about in this video, so that way you have all of the information that you need to be one of those annoying passengers in the car that's like, oh my God, it's a 222. Oh my God, it's a 333. Oh my God, it's a 555. I got you. So now that we know what all of the individual numbers mean, when we put them together, we can like actually read it left to right as if it was a paragraph. Each of the numbers mean their own individual things as they stand next to each other. For example, 333 consists of 3 3s on their own. The message of the 3 itself is amplified. However, you also have to take into consideration the sum of all of the numbers. For people who are into numerology, you totally understand this concept already. But for those of you who are newer to this concept, think of it this way. When you see the word cat, it consists of a C, an A, and a T, right? And we can put all of those together, cat. And we can see and feel and know what that sounds like, right? And what that looks like. But it also takes on the meaning of the language itself. So rather than it just being a word that has a sound attached to it, we then take that as a language and it means something else, right? It's not that we just go cat and like, that is just a sound. It actually means a thing. So that's kind of the basis behind why you would add up the sum of the numbers as opposed to just seeing them on their own. It takes on a new life. So going back to the 333 example of there being 3 energies, there's also a summation energy of a 9. So when you see a 333, you're thinking about what I said about the 3s, about it being about ascension, about it being seeing things from a different angle, about rising above, but it also has to do with a 9 energy, which has to do with life purpose and with completion and with seeing things from a different perspective. So the 333 is really harmonious with the 3 energy, and then the 3 is divisible by 9, and then if you think about it, then like the 42s come in. So anyway, that's my spiel about angel numbers. Thank you for hanging in there with me, and I really hope that this can help you. It might seem like a lot at first, but again, there's only 10 numbers. There's only 10 things that you really need to like understand and synthesize for yourself. And then for the rest of your life, you're set up with this different kind of understanding of these random events that might put your brain a little bit more at ease. I know for me, I hope that made sense. Honestly, this whole video probably doesn't make sense to some people, but that's kind of how all my shit is. So like, I don't know. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Please like it and leave a comment and subscribe to my channel because I'm brand new and I'm gonna be putting stuff out all the time and I need your help. Share this video whenever it becomes relevant. There are so many posts out there that are like, what does this mean? That's where your girl comes in. Think about me, never forget about me. Keep a picture of me under your pillow at night. And just know, I'm always here for you. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.